My fellow Southern Cameroonians, good day. I come to you today as a concerned Southern Cameroonian. Concerned because there's so much negative energy out there on the social media. And I believe I had once upon a time told you all that in the absence of positive energy, negative energy will take its place because nature does not like a vacuum. In our case, this negative energy presents itself in the form of audios and videos. And I'm afraid if we do nothing about this, a lot of our gullible people shall be misinformed, misguided, and therefore have lack of the truth or lack of valid information. And it's in this light that I come to you today to talk about a major story, major event that is going on our social media platforms with regards to the retreat that we just attended in Toronto, Canada. I therefore also ask all Southern Cameroonians of importance to join me, all Southern Cameroonians of value, all Southern Cameroonians of significance to the quest for freedom, to rise up. That includes myself. Wake up and say something and do something, anything to help make sure that our people are not misguided or misled. As I said before, there have been many audios and videos floating around on social media. However, the one I'm about to analyze sums up the doubts of few Southern Cameroonians with regards to the retreat that transpired in Toronto, Canada. And so I will this one time dissect it and respond not to the speaker or the owner of the audio, but to use this as a tool, an educative tool, for those out there who may still be seeking the truth with regards to what exactly happened. And just maybe, I may be able to also educate the speaker in the process, as he too appears to be somebody who is fighting for the freedom of Southern Cameroonians, and therefore is a brother of ours whom I would like to get to know someday. However, in order not to be accused of cutting bits and pieces of this audio to suit the cause, I will let it play entirely, and I'll just be pausing every now and then to answer some of the questions or respond to some of the doubts that the audio seems to portray. And what gives me the right to do so? Again, I personally attended the CDN retreat in Toronto. And I believe anyone who attended this retreat does have the right to also respond in kind. And if there's something that I say which may be either off or wrong, please, any of you who attended the retreat, kindly make the correction as well. I am very open to that. We're all human beings and we are prone to make mistakes every now and then. So I'm going to go ahead and start the audio from the beginning, and I will pause either to inject or interject somewhere clarification, or to respond to some questions or erase some of the doubt that this audio seems to have put into our community. So let's go ahead and go over to the audio. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and play this directly from the WhatsApp group where the audio currently resides. Here we go.
Fellow Amazonians, we cannot make this struggle a game of numbers. Again, we cannot make the struggle a game of numbers. Today is Sunday, November the 7th. In the year of our Lord 2021, I am Chris Anu, your communication secretary. Again, the subject of the message I bring to you today is, we cannot dare make this struggle a game of numbers. Fellow Amazonians, I am coming to you today to take you back to this Toronto retreat or conference that has been the talk of the day in recent times, since last week. It is very, very critical that you listen to me carefully because I see a trend. I see a trend out there, and it is a trend in which if we are not very, very careful, we may take ourselves into the wrong hands. Again, we may take, and when I say we, I mean the interim government and all the members in the ACT movement, Ambazonia coalition team.
Okay, let me pause there just to make sure we understand this. This message is actually meant for those who are in the interim government group and the members of the ACT team. Now, the only question I have is, I thought the interim government group was a member of the ACT team, but as you can see in the message he continues to talk about, he's always referring to the two as if they were separate, you know, the interim government group and members of the ACT team. But then again, that's for them to resolve, right? Let's go ahead with the message. Just wanted to make sure that we're clear. The message was meant for that particular group. So let's proceed.
Again, I'm taking you back once more to this Toronto retreat. And it is important to hear this because the argument out there, and I've seen it in many fora, the argument is the interim government supposed to have been there. ACT supposed to have been in Toronto. Sometimes I wonder whether our people really understand. Some, not all of our people, some of our people, I wonder whether they really do understand what indeed we are fighting for. We are not fighting, ladies and gentlemen, for a form of government in the damn country called La République du Cameroon.
Okay, again, when there's credit, give it where it's due. He is correct. We are not fighting for a change of government. I believe that most, if not all, the various groups out here, especially those of us in the diaspora, are looking for restoration of the independence or freedom of the Southern Cameroon. So there we give a check mark. It's correct. We are not fighting for a change of government. Agreed. So let's go ahead and listen to the speaker.
We are fighting for a free and independent Ambazonia. That's all we are fighting for.
Thumbs up.
Now, this retreat or conference took place in Toronto, organized by the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiations. Some people have called it the Coalition for Surrender. And the discussion out there from some quarters is again that ACT and the interim government supposed to be there. And the reason they have advanced this argument, now let me take you back a little bit. ACT and the interim government supposed to be there. And
now, let me just pause here again, just to go back to my first comment. As you notice, it's always ACT and interim government. And I was under the impression that ACT was some sort of a group made up of various other groups, but I may be wrong. I may have to stand to be corrected. But by listening to this audio, ACT and the interim government. Let's proceed.
Since they were not there, the argument says majority of the groups out there in Ambazonia, in fact, they have stated that 40 groups were represented in Toronto. And so the interim government and the ACT movement should endorse what took place in Toronto. Now let me bring to you the list of the groups, they call it stakeholders who were represented in Toronto. Now, as I read these names, I'd like you to begin to ask yourself, who are they? Who are they? Who do they represent? Who do they speak for? Or do they even exist? And if they exist, do they have any iota of an impact on this struggle? Now, these are the names of the groups that were in Canada. Now, you have Global Takumbang, wherever they are based, I don't know. You have Skawol, S-C-A-W-O-L. Again, whatever that stands for, wherever they are, we don't know. You have SKEW. I think I know a little bit of SKEW. Then you have a group from Ground Zero called SNWOT. SNWOT, ladies and gentlemen. You have the consortium. You have the SCNC. You have AGOVC. You have Kondenge IG. Then there is AMF. There is 7 Qatar. There is another one called Psalms 91. Again, whatever that means, wherever it is, we don't know. Then you have also the Terminators, they say, of Amazonia. Then you have Scoop. Then there is one called AIPC. Another one is IPOA. Another one is AYC. Another one SCYC. Then you have SCAF. Then there is WCA. There is DAC, DAC. There is CHRODA. There is also CHROI. Then you have Aya Foundation. Then Reach Out. Prisoners of Conscience, ladies and gentlemen. Then you have refugees, then IDPs. You have BFU, and then BCA, and then lastly, Interreligious Forum, and then traditional authorities. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ambazonians, these are the groups that met in Toronto, Canada. Now, I don't know whether any of you know these groups. I know a few of these groups. Now, let me break them down a little bit here. Global Takumbang, I really don't know them. I've heard about them. Then Skawol is what I've never heard. SKEW happened to be, I think, some women group, if I'm not wrong. SNWOT is a group based on Ground Zero, and these are unionists with La République du Cameroon. The consortium, ladies and gentlemen, the consortium doesn't exist.
Okay, I'm going to pause there for a second. And again, people have to be very, very careful. First of all, when he starts going through those groups, granted, he does not know a lot about many of the groups that are out there. And so one would expect that if you have someone of who represents their group or is a mouthpiece of their group, because he introduced himself in the beginning of the audio, you would not just come out in public and say you don't know this or don't know that. You will do your homework and you will do your research. He mentioned groups like Takumbangs, he mentioned groups like Skawol, SKEW, some women group. I'm just trying to go by what he said now. Now, for a revolutionist, especially if we are on this track of trying to work together, trying to find peaceful resolutions, and trying to move forward, I think that my personal, and speaking for myself, problem is with the language and the way this speaker has put it. Again, I would leave the ladies at SKEW and Takumbang and Skawol to defend themselves as they see fit. I don't belong to any of those groups, as you can see. But the message did sound either condescending or demeaning with regards to women. And again, I'm saying this, I'm trying to tread very carefully here because we are at a point in the revolution where we're trying to encourage the women to be more active. They are very active, don't get me wrong, but we're trying to encourage them to be more active, get them more involved with regards to the revolution. You have groups like Skawol that are planning events as of early as next year, women's retreat of that matter. You have groups like SKEW, and these are all working together with the ladies of the Takumbang as well. So when you get on and you say you don't know about the groups, it's one thing to say, I don't know. I would like to know. Can somebody help me find out more information about these? But I think what is really more painful in this audio is the fact that with information at our fingertips today, right? Anything can be discovered and learned at the click of a button. The speaker chooses not to do his homework, and get that information. Instead, the person chooses to come up on social media saying he does not know or does not have a clue about these groups. And the most important thing really is, do you think that an organization such as CDN, or let's even talk about the DAC, do you think any of those organizations will be able to organize a retreat of this magnitude and not vet those groups? So let's because right now we hear about DAC. Can DAC organize a retreat or a conference of such magnitude and have a list of 9 groups, and those groups will not be vetted before they are invited to attend? If the answer is yes or no, that same answer should also be applied to, and the same respect should also be given to the CDN. When you say you don't have any information about a group, that's one thing as an individual. But you're speaking as a member or a mouthpiece of an organization who is supposed to be highly respected, and you tell your people, because of course that message is addressed to them, that these groups are not known groups or insignificant, or you have no clue where they come from. And you use a phrase like a bunch of women or women, these women groups. Again, what is the purpose of this audio, right? In the day and time that we're trying to work together as a people and encourage one another to move forward, how does this audio help in our struggle right now? What message does this audio carry that we can learn from? I mean, we as Southern Cameroonians, all right? I know it's addressed to a particular group. He did mention in the beginning that it's addressed to the IG group. So I guess my question is, members of the IG group, what have you learned from this audio? What have you learned from this message? Again, since the message found itself on a public forum, Conscience of Ambazonia, I believe it's fair game for any of us to be able to respond to that particular audio as well. But let's play on. That's just neither here nor say.
Consortium ended with the creation of the interim government of Ambazonia. So I don't know how the consortium is featuring here. Then you have AGOV-C. Of course, we also know that this is the biggest ally of La République du Cameroon from our side in this struggle. You also have the Condenge IG. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, I don't need to explain them to you. You have also this group called Psalms 91. I don't know. I don't know what they are and what they stand for.
Now, again, for the sake of collaboration, the sake of unity and peace, in this particular atmosphere, in this day and time, in this stage, or at this state or stage of the struggle, are those words that were used to describe those various groups called for? And I'm not leaving this message because I'm trying to either denounce the speaker or trying to ridicule the speaker in public. No, that's not the message. So let me just say this up front. The idea or the purpose of this video is to have people think when they share such messages. I want people to think. I want us to begin to think as Southern Cameroonians. One of the things that we learned at the Toronto retreat was the high respect that we as Southern Cameroonians have from the international community. Believe it or not, regardless of what some people are saying out there. As a matter of fact, if I look at my notes, someone actually clarified the quality of human resources that are found in Southern Cameroon is one of the highest in the entire continent of Africa. Again, let me go back and say that the quality, not the quantity, the quality of human resources that is found currently in the Southern Cameroons is one of the highest in Africa. That's coming from one of the international observers when he was able to interact with us at that particular conference. So, having said that, if this audio were to go out, I don't know, probably already has, right? If this audio goes out into the international community, Southern Cameroonians, does this represent you? That's the question I want you to answer. Does this audio or the voice behind this audio, does this represent you? Let's go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, the point I am trying to make here is these groups, we do not know them. We do not know what most of them stand for and what their fight is about. That is assuming they are in any fight in the first place.
Again, and this is where I want to go back. Therefore, the speaker of this audio should do some legwork, some homework. How would he feel, or how would members of the IG group feel if any other group out there were to do exactly the same thing? We don't know where the IG is from. We don't know what they stand for, or if they're fighting at all. You know, if somebody was to put out that kind of audio, all hell will break loose. So sometimes I think it's time for us to start thinking about treating others as you would want to be treated, right? Again, like I said, the only reason why I chose this is because some of the questions that this speaker is bringing up are questions that have been floated around in many different forums. And I believe that if I can attest, or if we can answer a lot of these questions, I can clarify some of the doubts that is in people's minds. And I would want to also challenge all the others who attended the retreat to do likewise. Again, I may be wrong in some of my analysis, and if I am, please, brothers and sisters, correct me. And again, we're just supposed to try to educate our people. There are a lot of people, especially on ground zero, and I know this for a fact, who believe in some of this information that's going out. And if we don't put an end to this, and we don't tell the truth, we shall not be set free. Let's continue.
So the question is, what do these groups that met in Canada, what do they represent? Do they represent the issues, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, not even the issue, one issue, which is a free and independent Ambazonia that the overwhelming majority of Ambazonians stand for.
The direct answer to that question, without blinking, is yes. Majority, if not all of the groups that attended that conference, which I was privileged to also attend, do represent overwhelming views of the Southern Cameroonians, which is for the quest for freedom. Now, why am I saying this? Because if you were to do your research and do your homework and talk to members of these different groups or talk to their executives, you shall be able to get a clear-cut answer as to what they represent, why they went to Canada in the first place, and even get some inside information as to what transpired at that retreat. Let's go ahead.
Do these groups represent this aspiration of a free and independent Ambazonia?
Yes, they do.
Of course, I have read the names of the groups to you. And the answer is no.
Okay.
They are not.
Now, when you say no, they are not, where is the answer coming from? Where are the facts? Where is the data? Where is the communication? Where is the information on their website? Where is your information from their spokesperson? Where is the information from their executive? As a matter of fact, where did you get that response from?
I have explained in the past that the CDN itself that organized this conference, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't advocate for a free and independent Ambazonia. The CDN says it is neutral when it comes to the independence of Ambazonia and this conflict between Ambazonia and French Cameroon or La République du Cameroun.
I think I will let the CDN representative choose to either respond to that or not, because I don't want to put words in their mouth. But you say that the CDN is neutral to the quest for freedom and neutral when it comes to the negotiation between both groups. I guess, I mean, your audio is back there. I can go back and rewind it and see exactly what you said, so I don't put words in your mouth. I believe that the CDN presents itself as a neutral platform to be able to ease the discussions among the parties. The CDN's vision is to see an end to the bloodshed, right? But to also advocate for negotiations. Either way we shall talk, be it 2035 or 2012 or 11 or 10, 2021 or 22 or 23. The question is, when shall we have those talks? And so the CDN, if I'm wrong, somebody from the CDN will correct this, is trying to advocate for us to talk earlier or to talk quicker. The CDN has never mentioned, and I'm not a spokesperson for the CDN, okay, just to clarify that, has never spoke about advocating for anything other than a resolution to this particular problem. Again, I'll let the CDN respond in more detail to that should they choose to. Let's proceed.
So it is just a little bit funny to me that an Amazonian group made up of, again, Amazonians will be telling anyone in that matter at this point in time in this struggle that it is neutral, that it is neutral. If they are neutral, they don't belong to the cause, ladies and gentlemen. They are no longer fighting for Amazonian, because every Amazonian at this point in time is saying they want an independent Federal Republic of Amazonia. Having nothing to do with La République du Cameroon. But the CDN that organized this so-called retreat has said they are neutral. They are neutral. Nobody can be neutral. Now, you may say that, but the SCNC was in Toronto. Yes, I see a faction of the SCNC in Toronto, but of course we know that you could also say that Kondenge IG was, you could also say that the IG was in Toronto, because Kondenge IG was there. Ladies and gentlemen, what does the group that met in Toronto represent? That is the biggest question.
Let me answer that question. There was no group. And this is where you begin to see some of the false propaganda that's going out there. There was no group that met in Toronto. There was an organization called CDN, which permitted groups, not a group, groups to come together and talk about searching for common grounds. That, my dear friend, is what happened in Toronto, Canada. And because your mind is still lingering on the aspect of people getting together and converging, and has to be a group which will be formed today and dissolved tomorrow, you have to get out of that old way of doing things. We're looking for a newer way, a newer solution. A lot of times when we were even in the hall, we were even discussing with the folks of CDN, and sometimes they would, I would say they went a little bit over their reach and tried to do things which they were pushed back, as a matter of fact. I remember a lot of people would say, no, you cannot do that. You can just give us the guidelines. We shall be the ones to sit down. We shall be the ones to go over resolutions. We shall be the ones to come back and give you a feedback. We made that clear to the CDN, and they respected it. So again, my friend, this is not a group. It's not a group. It's a platform that allowed various groups that were invited, and I believe most, if not all groups were invited. Some of them chose not to go because of maybe some misinformation here and there. But groups were able to converge in Toronto, Canada, thanks to the neutral platform, otherwise known as the CDN. Let's continue.
The groups that met in Toronto,
Yes.
What do they represent? When you have unionists with La République du Cameroun, you have federalists, and a few independentists. Ladies.
And again, point of correction, Mr. Speaker, point of correction, you would have to have been there to be able to have that information. And because you were not there, that information is false. Majority of the groups that were at that retreat were for the freedom of Southern Cameroons. Majority. There were some that were unionists and there were some that were federalists. But like I said before in my previous video, unless you got a chance to talk to some of those who are talking about federation, they are using federation because of their location and because of where they are. They are using or leaning towards federation as a means towards getting to freedom. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. It's their opinion, it's their point of view. We should have the right to respect it, just as we want them to respect our point of view. The bottom line is those who are looking for freedom of Southern Cameroon still today that we're making this video still make up for the majority of Southern Cameroonians, and therefore there is no reason why you should be afraid or you should be scared, if truly indeed you are for the cause, to sit in a room with fellow Southern Cameroonians who may have a different opinion from yours and discuss with them. What makes you think you cannot convince them to maybe ditch their federal ways, right? Why can't you have that conversation with them? You cannot have a conversation with a federalist or a union who's a Southern Cameroonian. Yet, you claim to want to have a conversation with La République du Cameroon when it comes to negotiations and borderlines and territory. How is that possible? Again, I don't say this to be malicious. Please forgive me if that's what it might sound like. I'm saying this because maybe we need to sit and talk as a people. I'm saying this because there are a few gullible people out there who are going to listen to this audio, and there won't be a follow-up to this audio, or maybe there will be, and they're going to run with what you've said. And so right now, I believe it's my responsibility and those of us who attended this retreat to be able to come out and vehemently say no to such audios and videos that are putting, let's say this, like they'll say in Pidgin, Sansan for Magari. It's not correct. It's not correct. It is not correct. Seek the truth. Talk to those who went to that particular conference. The previous meeting that happened in Switzerland with a few members of ACC, some of us did not attend that meeting, but we didn't go get information or talk about it on the internet without having attended the meeting. We had to talk to people that attended the meeting. We were talking to people and got some information as to those who attended, those who tried to attend. All that information comes from somebody who went to the meeting, not from hearsay. Again, like I said in my previous video, people went out there back in those days and watched movies. Some claimed to watch a movie, didn't watch it, just saw the poster and came back and told the whole story. Those days are over. Let's stick with the truth. Let's continue.
Ladies and gentlemen, those independentists, I will consider them people who can easily change their mind. They are easily swayable. They can easily change their mind at any time. So when these people meet there, again, the big question is, what do they represent?
So what you're telling me is that, because you went down the list, members of DAC, members of AGOV-C, members of SCOWL, SKEW, and all those members that you listed, the 40 people, are independentists who can easily be swayed, right? Where do your facts come from? Can the IG group also easily be swayed? If you say no, I can also discuss and say, well, I think it can be easily swayed because of A, B, and C and all the issues that we're seeing all over the place. But I choose not to go that route because it's not going to benefit the struggle. We need to start thinking as a collective. And the more that you talk about or put people in a box where they don't necessarily belong, it's problematic. It's problematic.
What do they represent? And this is very important because this should be the guiding question. The guiding question to how we evaluate their intentions and acceptance thereof of the CDN and its agenda. Fellow Ambazonians, if what they represented in Toronto is anything different from a free and independent Ambazonia, nobody should out there be advocating for ACC and the interim government to join rooms, ladies and gentlemen, to sit on the same table with them, because again, our vision isn't the same.
And for that, Mr. Speaker, I give you a double check mark. If you're correct, if they were advocating for anything other than that, you are correct. And I agree with you. And I think many people, if not all, Southern Cameroonians would agree with you on that phrase right there. So thumbs up. Let's continue.
The people that met in Toronto are looking for peace. That's all they're looking for. Peace with La République du Cameroun. Ceasefire with La République du Cameroun. Negotiation with La République du Cameroun.
Again, Mr. Speaker, that's incorrect. We're looking for a peaceful negotiation does not mean that they're looking for a ceasefire and looking for peace. And you see, this is the problem when you start to play with words. These words fall into the hands of the wrong people, stir up commotion and issues where they shouldn't be. Again, I'm really holding back here because I'm not in the CDN, and I would like the CDN when they feel like, or if they feel like, to respond to these direct accusations. However, based on attending the conference, based on the resolutions that we're going to review and get back to the public about, the answer is no. That's not what we were advocating for. That's not what any of these groups were advocating for. Let's continue.
But the people, the ACT movement and the interim government, they are determined. They are for a free and independent Southern Cameroon.
And just to clarify, so are the 40 groups that you listed a while ago who attended the conference. It was made clear that all of us are for a free Southern Cameroons. So just to let you know that that's the one thing, that platform that got us all together, okay, most of those groups together, shares with the ACT and the IG. So how about we start with that, right? That's the one thing that we agree on. We agree that we're looking for a free and independent Southern Cameroons. Okay, how do we achieve that? Can that be a conversation? This question now does go to the speaker because I know he was addressing his particular group, but this audio found itself on a public forum. So hopefully he gets this video. Can we start to talk about that? That's one thing. I know there's so many other things, but we just found one that we share in common: free and independent Southern Cameroons. So can we start talking about that? Can the ARC, since apparently it seems like the ARC is not, you have the ARC and then you have the IG, you know, every time you call one, you're referring to both. So can the ARC and the IG group, together with all the other groups that went to Toronto, can we now, next time, hopefully, sit and talk about how we chart our way forward for that independence and that freedom? Because that's obviously one of the things that we do agree on based on this audio. Let's proceed.
Non-negotiable. Again, non-negotiable.
Agreed.
So tell me, explain to me, somebody, how does the interim government and the ACT movement that stands for nothing but a free and independent Southern Cameroons go and sit down with unionists, with federalists, with one Cameroonians? What are we going to take out of there?
Let me explain what you're going to take out of there. You're going to get to know these people, number one. Number two, regardless of what the outcome is out of this war, we shall live side by side with unionists and federalists. Do you want to wait until that moment to get to know who your neighbors are, or do you want to actually get to know them now? And maybe, just maybe, even persuade them and give them more information as to why you believe, I believe, and majority of us believe that we should have a free Southern Cameroons. By ignoring them, by staying away from them, and let me just remind you, again, we are the majority. But if we keep up this behavior, it might not be for too long. We are the majority. We need to be inclusive. We need to be able to acknowledge that there are other Southern Cameroonians who may have different points of views of us. We're not leaving La République du Cameroon, which is a dictatorship regime, just to come and form another dictatorship regime at the cost of 14,000 lives plus and counting. That's not what we're doing. We're not going to leave one rogue state to try to build another rogue state. That's not what we're doing. So we can at least agree on that, right? Now let's try to chart a path forward on what we do agree on. Let's leave out some of this negative energy, right? That's all I'm saying. Let's move on.
Negotiate with them. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this struggle is not about the form of state in La République du Cameroon.
Agreed.
And that is what the people who gathered in Canada were talking about. The form.
That is not correct, Mr. Speaker. That is not correct. Please stop spreading false information. That is not correct. Bring me one person. I'm not talking about a group. We were about, 90 people there, 100 maybe. Bring me one person who attended the conference who can vouch for you and say exactly what you just said. One person. Just bring us one person that can say that the purpose of that conference or the purpose of that retreat and what we discussed at the retreat centered around the form of the state of the Republic of Cameroon. I just need one. Just one person. And let's clear the air about this once and for all. If you can bring one person, we should have that debate. One. Just one. 1%. Just bring me 1% of folks who attended that conference who can support your story because they were there. One. One, brother. Just one. Let's continue.
Of state, the form of state in La République du Cameroon. We have gone past that time, that era. Our vision is very clear. Nothing but a free and independent Amazonia. The time that we discussed the form of state with La République du Cameroon is long gone. That is why the interim government and the ARC movement will not at any time be sitting on the same table with CDN and their mushroom groups that nobody knows about.
I would be very careful in drawing such a conclusion. I'm willing to bet with you, probably, that you will be sitting on the table with the CDN sometime soon. If the information you portrayed here about the CDN was correct and true, I would agree with you. But because the information, and this is just logic, right? Because the information you're portraying on here is false, therefore the reverse is true. So if the information you just released right now was true, then yes, I can see that the interim government group and the ARC would not be sitting with the CDN anytime soon. But because the information you said on here is false, therefore the interim government and the ARC will be sitting with the CDN soon. It's just common sense. Let's proceed.
Our vision is clear. Our direction is clear. A free and independent Amazonia.
Correct.
So fellow Amazonians, when you hear people out there say, oh, the IG missed an opportunity, ARC missed an opportunity, the IG and ARC would have been in Toronto, please, this is an agenda from La République du Cameroon. The IG and the ARC movement took the right decision to abstain from that Toronto retreat. First of all,
I think that's where there was a mistake. Because if you of the IG group and ACT had attended this Toronto retreat, you would have had more facts, more ammunition, more details to dispute or to confirm your thesis or your hypothesis. And I'm using those words very carefully because that's what they are right now. You have no facts. Had the IG and the ACT attended the retreat, you would have had more facts to base your theory on. But because you did not, and I think that's what people are trying to tell you, you missed an opportunity to be able to sustain or to support your facts or your theory, your story. Right now is nothing but a story. You missed the opportunity because you were maybe apparently biased about the motive. You missed an opportunity to attend the retreat, gather your facts, and come back out, even right there in front of the hotel, and say, I told you guys so. This stuff was La République, it was this, it was that, here is what we discussed, here is the fact. If you had done that, you would have much more respect in the eyes of Southern Cameroonians than you have now. Staying out of a retreat for which you were invited for, all expense paid for, or most expense paid for the most part, just because you believe that the ideology or the course of discussion did not align with your beliefs, is, I think, where you made the worst mistake. So maybe for next time, it's a lesson learned. Come to the retreat, find out for yourselves what it's all about, and then take those facts back to the people of Southern Cameroon. Because right now, you're just telling them a story. That's all you're doing. You're telling them a story. You're pulling stuff from the cloud. I I don't want to say cloud because now the cloud seems to be a good thing that people store valuable information. But you know what I'm saying, right? You're just pulling stuff from your hat and you're saying this and you're saying that, but there's no substance to support that hypothesis or that story. So please, my brethren and my sisters of the IG group, of the act, let's tone down a little bit. Let's look at the facts. Let's try to put the people before us, the people first, the people of Southern Cameroon. Put them first, especially for those who are on ground zero. Again, this is not supposed to be a malicious message or supposed to be some message that's out to discipline anybody of any group, but it's just out there because this audio shall land on some ears and they shall believe every word that's coming out of this speaker. And so I want to follow up this audio with this video. Let's proceed.
First of all, we have asked who is sponsoring these conferences, flying people from all over the globe to meet in Toronto. Of course,
this is a question that you need to ask to the CDN directly. We at DAC asked the CDN this question when they met with us one-on-one, and we got a clear-cut answer for that. Other groups had one-on-one conversations with the CDN, and they had clear-cut answers because we also had doubts. Where are you getting the funds for this? And it was made clear to us where those funds came from. What I can tell you is those funds did not come from La Republique de Cameroon. No. But the only way you can find out this information or get the right answer is to reach out to the CDN. Their numbers are all over the place. Call them and then come back and tell the people or tell your people that, hey, I spoke to the CDN and we found out that for real, the funds are got from A, B, C, D, E. Again, seek, knock, and the door shall be opened. Let's proceed.
we are being told the funding is coming from Dion Ngute's office in Yaoundé.
Okay, so the person who told you that the funding is coming from Dion Ngute's office in Yaoundé, and this is the problem, right? As a Southern Cameroonian, I mean, you should know better. When you get that kind of result or that kind of information, why not try to come into the house of Southern Cameroonians? If I cannot doubt that you're not a Southern Cameroonian. I don't have the right to either chastise you or to validate whether or not you're a Southern Cameroonian. That's not my thing. But if we are in a war and we are being killed by a military from La Republique de Cameroon, you would think that we would want to stick together. We're so few of us who want to stick together and work together. You have this information that John Ngute is the one who is sponsoring this retreat. How long ago did you have this information? And why did you not blow that whistle on Southern Cameroonians? Why didn't you contact the CDN and then say, hey, listen, I found out that this and that? Why don't we have that information? Why is this information only coming out a day or the day before the retreat or the day after the retreat? Or why is this information only coming out then? And remember, we know for a fact that you were invited to this retreat way before the retreat date. So how comes you didn't do your homework, get out information, and since you found out your brothers and sisters of Southern Cameroon descent were going into the lion's den, you didn't blow the whistle to advise them or to tell them that, hey, listen, this stuff is being funded by Cameroon, you're going down a slippery slope, please be careful, Not a word until the retreat is over. So what you're trying to say is that you watched your brothers and sisters go down a slippery slope into a lion's den and get eaten alive and you not say a word about it? Come on, guys. Whew. Let's proceed.
Yes, the funding is coming from Dion Ngute's office in Yaoundé. And the guy they call Mbayu somebody, ladies and gentlemen. Ambazonians, we have grown past this level of manipulation. This is cheap. And I want to encourage every one of you out there, don't be swayed when you see some mushroom groups with no salt coming together to try to derail our aspiration for a free and independent Amazonia.
And this is where I would say you, again, I'm going to try as much as possible to just be respectful. But my brother, you crossed the line when you refer to your fellow Southern Cameroonians who are doing a lot of work in this struggle for the quest for freedom. as mushroom groups. You do. I want to believe that your heart is in a good place, right? You're trying to protect something. You're trying to protect the quest or the fight for freedom. I want to believe that, but you need to find a better way to portray your ideas to your fellow brothers and sisters such that they don't run away from you, they run towards you. When you use such language and you're supposed to be somebody who is eloquent and represents a group, what do you expect others to do? If tomorrow somebody turns around and refers to all the groups in the act as mushroom groups, how do you feel? And this is where, again, the tire meets the road. There are ways, even if you believe that these are mushroom groups, there's a way you as a public speaker can portray that information. I know that this is meant for your IG group, I know that. But there's a way that even in your own house, you talk to your children. This is not the way. Not when people are dying and getting killed and shot with bullets do you refer to other groups that are working hard. And of course, obviously, you're oblivious to it because you don't even know about these groups. And because you don't know about these groups, therefore they are mushroom groups and not exist. Come on. Try and do your homework, man. Do some work. Do your homework. Let's continue.
We will keep on fighting, standing for nothing, making our vision clearer by the day. Again, it is Ambazonia, or we keep on fighting. We must live free, or we die fighting.
Agreed.
Nothing. And people on ground zero should note this, because very soon, do you imagine? You saw how their newspapers in La République du Cameroon carried the Toronto so-called retreat. How many times have their newspapers carried conferences, events organized by the interim government or by DAC? How many of them are reporting on it? None.
Okay, I need to step in here because when this retreat was initially planned for Delaware, and unfortunately I don't have the right to call his name, but one of the comrades, and he knows it because if he watches this video, he will accept, and if he wants to come out, he will come out. When this retreat was being planned in Delaware, a lot of us who reside in Delaware were reached out to help the CDN plan this. We were tasked with logistics, we were tasked with media. This comrade asked me to contact all the newspapers and all the TV media houses in Delaware. And we spanned as far as New Jersey, Philadelphia, and even up to New York. We got all that information and we gave it to the CDN because the CDN wanted this event to be carried by the medias and to also to awaken the international community. Because as we all know it, those media networks, CNN and what have you, are not carrying our story. So the CDN, this is not hearsay. This is not about third party. This is CDN to us in Delaware. As a matter of fact, to me, to be able to task ourselves to reach out to all the media houses, get all the information, get the people, the contacts, and what have you. When this got postponed, or for some reason had to be transferred over to Canada, therefore, it means that we had to now reach out to the media houses in Canada and also the media houses back in Cameroon, because it was the only way for us to be able to educate our people on this conference. So if the CDN was able to carry out such a retreat of such magnitude, and you're trying to compare that with the IG, the only response I can give you, my friend, is that the IG group or the AG group, when you were doing your conferences, you either did not do your legwork or your homework, or you did not get that media coverage because you did not involve them. The CDN, months ahead of time, probably if I look at my schedule here, about 3-4 months prior to the date of the original meeting that was to be held in Delaware, had already started to contact media houses here and in Cameroon. 3 to 4 months to the event. So my question to you, Mr. Speaker, did the IG group spend as much time, effort, and energy to reach out to the media houses when they went for their conference? Did they reach out to those media houses back in Ground Zero where our people belong to, where our people can get more of the information because that's where they are right now? Did you do that? Did you succeed? If you failed, why did you fail? Have you learned from that experience? What are you going to do about it so that next time when you have another conference, the media outlets shall be able to carry out your story? These are the questions you're supposed to be asking, not trying to paint an image of an event because the media houses carried it and did not carry the other one. It's, it sounds like, again, I don't want to get into this rumble, but it's like a little kid, fighting with his sibling. Oh, mommy didn't give me a candy, so I feel left out. That is not the case, sir. It's not the case. And if I didn't respond to this because I was heavily involved myself in that media, the multimedia aspect of it, any question you want to ask, I shall be able to answer because I was directly involved in that, right up to the actual event itself. So the CDN did work very hard. They did do a lot of stuff, a lot of planning. And I want to also think that maybe, just maybe, the level at which CDN organized and orchestrated and planned this is a level where some Southern Cameroonians are not able to fathom. And that's why a lot of things are coming out like shocks. You're dealing with professionals. You're dealing with highly trained Southern Cameroonians. You're dealing with highly educated Southern Cameroonians. And I'm not trying to say that those who are not as highly educated don't mean anything. No. What I'm saying is the way they operate, the way they plan, the way they execute is going to be totally different than anybody else. And that's why this member of the international community, and I'm still saying what he said, the quality of human resources found in Southern Cameroons is one of the highest in Africa. And so up until this retreat, they were puzzled as to who they're dealing with. And when they came out of this retreat for the first time, they said, that is the Southern Cameroons that we know. That represented what they were talking about in the 1950s and so, when we had our own self-governance, when we had our own structures. That is the Southern Cameroons that they know. Let us try to get that flag back up. Let us try to get that respect back up. So please, we need to stop this. We don't have a choice.
When La République du Cameroon organizes a conference in a retreat in Toronto under the auspices of a proxy called CDN, somebody think that the interim government should have been there.
The next time the interim government wants to organize something, the interim government group or the act, maybe, just maybe, you might want to contact the CDN and have them work with you, at least when it comes to the publicity and advertisement, because you've seen that it works and they've got that part right. So this is where you begin to collaborate, right? So you mentioned the fact that whenever the interim government group organized their stuff, nobody heard about it, it didn't go anywhere, or something to that effect. Well, the CDN have done it, they've proven that it's successful. Maybe when it comes to your organization or your event, you might want to tap the CDN and say, hey, listen, guys, can you help us with the publicity? And I don't think they'll reject it because they've nailed that part. If they are true Southern Cameroonians, they will help you with that as well. That's just an advice. A word to a wise is sufficient.
We will never be part of it. Again, we will never be part of it.
Never say never. You might have to eat those words one day. Never say never.
So, fellow Amazonians, please stay clear because they are coming to intoxicate your ears. They are coming to persuade you to say the interim government is intransigent. The interim government doesn't want to work with other organizations. The interim government doesn't want to listen to other organizations. We do not want to work with them, listen to them, because they have proven that they are not fighting the same fight with us. Again, they are not in the same fight with us. I mentioned last time the same CDN organized a polling that asks Amazonians what they want. Is it an independent country or a union or federation with La République du Cameroon? The overwhelming result stated Amazonians, I think it was 89%, stated they want a free and independent country. Now, having conducted that polling, you will now think that CDN will tailor their vision towards achieving that goal for Ambazonians. No, they are not. Instead, they are saying that Ambazonians just want some greater autonomy short of a free country. So,
My dear comrade, where, because you were very explicit, where is the documentation or the evidence that proves what you just said right now? That the CDN is looking for just another, where is that documentation? Because that's what you just said right now is serious. I mean, this is, I would consider that a serious accusation if it's not correct. Where is the documentation that just confirms, or the information that where did you get that information from that just gave the stance of the CDN? And what's interesting is you use their polling. So it's almost like you pick and choose, this time yes, this time no. No, the CDN did conduct a polling at the last conference, which unfortunately, due to COVID, was held online. And yes, it was done, wide geographic spread, and they had results which you just acknowledged and just read out. So why do you think that that group is for a one Cameroon? I'm just trying to put two and two together, because if I were for a one Cameroon, and given the circumstances under which things are going on right now, and I know that the majority of Southern Cameroonians want a free Cameroon, I would not do a polling. Not now. Not now during the war, because I know that the result of that polling will not be in my favor. So if I were for a one Cameroon, this is not the time to do a polling among Southern Cameroonians, because you will be embarrassed and disgraced. So the CDN that you claim is for a one Cameroon, again, sir, why would they do a polling, knowing very well that the results of that polling will work against them? Again, I'm using you, unfortunately, as a guinea pig, but when I'm asking these questions, not really to you, the bearer of this audio. I'm actually asking Southern Cameroonians who may believe in this audio. That's who I'm talking to.
Amazonians, I've always said to you, open your eyes and be wise. I am Chris Anu. Thanks for listening.
Amazonians, Southern Cameroonians, open your eyes, open your ears, and be wise. Unfortunately, there's a lot of information out there. A lot of it is false. But if you put two and two together, if you just put two and two together, if you just think it through, rather than forwarding it and saying, oh my goodness, just think it through, absorb it, and just think it through, the answer will be there before your own fingertips. I just went through this audio. Unfortunately, the video is long because the audio was long and we had to pause it and interject it. But I think that I was able to give you a better idea of what's out there, and I was able to respond to the best of my capability, given my limitations as well. But I leave the rest up to the CDN to really, come up with a solid message at some point to answer a lot of these questions that were tailored towards them. I just took it upon myself to answer some of the ones that were tailored towards us, the quote-unquote mushroom groups, because my organization, DAC, Diaspora Ambazonia Community, was also mentioned in that list. That's the only reason why I came up with this video. Second to the fact that I want to educate my people. So I leave it at that. It's pretty late over here. But again, my brother, this is not a message to incite any violence. It's not a message to try to ridicule you in any way. But it's a message to, one, educate our people. And two, probably and possibly also educate you, because a lot of information that you were asking, a lot of questions, you seem not to have answers for. So I hope I have touched on some of the answers. I hope if they are not to your satisfaction, you will have the courage to pick up the phone and give me a call. I have your number, you have my number. If you have any doubts, give me a call. If we have to escalate it, we can go to the CDN as well, and they can also be able to answer a lot more other questions. And I hope and I pray that you will, for the sake of the people of Southern Cameroons, come back and also leave an audio with your answers that you've received. It's the noble thing that any Southern Cameroonian would do. Talk to your parents. those who lived in what was then known as West Cameroon, Southern Cameroons. I think anybody now who is about age 55 or under would need to actually call our folks back at home, those who are alive, or uncles or aunties. That is the Southern Cameroons that we're trying to recreate. I don't want to believe that is lost and gone. So, again, my brother, I'm saying that. Hopefully I answered these questions. If I did not, to your satisfaction, please reach out to the CDN. Please give me a call. And let's talk about it, because we need to have those answers as we progress. And we work together. I have some questions too. I may be reaching out to you to ask as to why you did not attend. Because it really baffles me that you talk about, championing Swiss-led process. And then the Swiss make it clear to you that they will be at this particular event and you don't show up as champions of that process. It is mind-boggling. So I shall be reaching out to you as well too, or members of the ACT, and really have a one-on-one discussion, because again, we are in this together. We either rise together or we fall together. Peace.